Very pleased last evening that the decision was taken. It's a significant decision in terms of the banning of the importation of Russian oil into the European Union, and really accounting for a very significant volume of Russian oil, and that will hit Russia. And I think clearly, there were significant challenges for some member states which had to be taken into account. We're at the sixth round of sanctions, which, as you go from round to round, it becomes more challenging, and oil and gas are particularly challenging, given the dependency on Russian oil and gas of some member states. It is a watershed moment in terms of fossil fuels in general, which will make for fairly rocky territory over the next number of years in terms of pricing around fossil fuels. We cannot get away from that. But on the other hand, what's clear from the presentation from the President of the Commission is that there's a need to double down on renewables, and a lot of focus from the Commission now on the permitting systems within member states, including our own, in terms of renewable energy, and the need to get offshore wind projects in place much sooner than would have been the anticipated timeline for offshore wind energy projects. One is looking at a different era now in terms of pricing around fossil fuels. The war has really exacerbated this and created huge pressure. And there's no doubt in my mind that part of Putin's strategy was to create an energy crisis and also then to create a food crisis. And there's real concern if you combine the impact of the war with drought in the Horn of Africa. We are facing into very challenging times around food security and famine across the Middle East and Africa. And that is an issue that is of huge concern in many member states, and in terms of the situation in Africa and indeed the Middle East. We've done well in Ireland in terms of electricity on renewables, but we've got to move much faster now to the end of this decade. We will do everything we can to alleviate the pressures on consumers. But if you look at the EU Power initiative and communication, is very, very clear that if you reduce permanently Europe's dependence on Russian gas and oil, that has implications for the global market over time. We import a lot of fossil fuels. We're not exactly masters of our own destiny in that regard. I think the most important thing we can do as a country is to double down on renewables and really get moving on the timelines around offshore wind. That's the big game changer for Ireland over the next decade, no doubt about that, because that ultimately, by the mid-2030s, would enable Ireland to become an exporter as opposed to a chronic importer of fossil fuels at the moment.